You are listening to an exclusive on PodHub Network. Your city, your podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Back to the Burgh, presented by the PodHub Network. My guest today is from Ambridge, PA. Played baseball at the University of Slippery Rock, and soon after, he sought out his coaching career. He is now the coach of my undergrad alma mater, Bethany College. Please welcome Justin Thomas. JT, what's up? How you doing?
Hey man, how you doing?
My guy. Dude, these Steelers, not looking great.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is, Lombardi. The goal is an undefeated.
Yep.
And then the biggest thing too is, not only in sports in general, but especially professionals. Like you could be 5-7, but you're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Any given day, you could lose. And
absolutely.
I think, but you also have to look at one point in the game today, we were down 3 starting linebackers, 2 corners, center, running back, and for whatever reason we were allergic to catching the ball.
Yep.
But I think that we'll get some normalcy back. Probably Tuesday, Wednesday off, and stuff like that. And I think we'll be all right. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 years we haven't been in the playoffs, and right now we're 11-1.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
I know we can talk Steelers all day, me and you, but we're here to talk about you specifically. So you grew up in Ambridge. I grew up in Beaver. We've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Another little thing. You're the first person on this show that I've actually interviewed before. So kudos to you for that. So what was it like growing up in Ambridge? Like, I don't think we played you whenever I was growing up. We didn't play Ambridge a lot outside of like booster baseball. So I didn't get to see a lot of Ambridge. What was it like over there?
So when I was in high school and years after, Ambridge and Beaver was big in soccer.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That was the rivalry. And then I know actually there was I think a young man from Beaver and 2 or 3 young men from Ambridge played together at Slippery Rock when I was there. So I heard about that too. But growing up in Ambridge was, it was fun. I was really fortunate and blessed to be in the neighborhood that I was in because, there was a lot of kids my age. So I moved there when I was 7 because I grew up, I was born in Swickley. I went to Quaker Valley.
Oh, you're a rich boy. Okay.
Yo. No. I moved to Ambridge. Hey, there's a difference between renting a house and buying a house.
Yeah, I hear that.
So I went from, kindergarten to 3rd grade, I was in Quaker Valley. And then that summer after between 3rd and 4th, I moved to Ambridge. And it was completely different I'll never forget moving into my house and carrying stuff up the stairs. And a flock of kids were like at the bottom of my step, like wanting me to come play. And I'm like, I have no idea who any of you are. There was skateboards, there was scooters, there was boys, it was girls, and it was like 12 of them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you come out and play? Like, don't know anybody's name, anything. But that was the neighborhood that I was moving into. And, and it was very fortunate and very blessed to be in that neighborhood. And not only that was, parents, obviously, a lot of them were working. It's Western PA, blue collar, to get up, go to work.
Yep.
So in the summertime, the kids are, somewhat on their own to an extent. But there was an older couple, grandparents, who were like right in the middle of the street where we always played, and they were like everybody's grandparents. So they would make us lunch. We go there, hang out sometimes. Whenever we played, like whenever we would pick teams and all that kind of stuff, we would pick them in front of their house.
Yeah. So
like nothing would really happen. So like from 8 to 4, I really didn't. I always had chores to do in the house. So I had some responsibility, but like whenever I go outside at like 11 or 12, we're always there, So if my mom needed me, she knew who to call. They always looked out for all of us, and then we're all older now, but, I love it. Whenever I go home, like if you go to my Twitter handle, it says location, it says 4th and Pine, and that's the street, the street of where I grew up playing at. It's probably, easily one of my favorite places ever. I always loved going back there. And then like even going back now, I see a basketball hoop and I see kids on the street that yell "car" whenever a car's coming, and that was me 25 years ago. And it's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I remember from our first interview. The first time I interviewed you was like literally just getting introduced to you
Hmm.
because you had just come to Bethany, and I remember you mentioning Fourth and Pine
That's it.
and just how awesome it was to grow up there.
Yeah, man. Home sweet Pine Street.
Yeah,
That's it.
I remember that. Yeah, so like growing up, what were all the sports you played? Like obviously baseball. Were you a football guy? Were you a soccer guy?
No, I was only baseball, but I could throw a football better than I could throw a baseball. And I always tell people, like, you know how, you always have like, what was the one thing you regret, or what was the one thing you would go change? If I could start over, I would go back to ninth grade and I would play football, basketball, baseball, or at least basketball, baseball.
Yeah,
Like, I knew that I was good enough to play baseball, but the other sports is where I would have gained the work ethic, in the weight room, the running, the conditioning.
yeah,
So I could have played high school basketball and not played a second in a game, but just from practice, so much running, I would have been in better shape. I was always a bigger, heavier guy, but I could still play. But
yeah,
just from running up and down the court, I probably would have been 15 pounds lighter before baseball, and that would have made me a better player, better athlete.
yeah.
But I only played baseball. That's the only thing. Well, I will say this though, that was the only game I ever loved. So
Okay, I mean that makes sense.
I like football. I like basketball. Don't get me wrong, but like the only thing that I ever loved, the only thing that I ever thought I could never do without was baseball. So when it came time to play, that's what.
Yeah, so you mentioned that like baseball was the only thing you knew you could do. Like you knew you were good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Was that kind of the mentality of why you didn't play other sports? Like, oh, I haven't played football before, so why should I try? Why should I fail? Was it like a fear of failure almost?
No, it wasn't a fear of failure. I think it was a lack of love.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like I could see football and be like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. Or I could see hoops and I could say, yeah, that's cool. I like that. But when I saw baseball, everything stopped. Like I love that. I need that.
Yeah.
So when I got to the age where it was time to play, I had to play. And I think that, and my brother, not to pick on him, but like whenever he would my brother and I are 17 years apart.
Okay.
So he would babysit me, and he would learn that if he sat me in front of a Pittsburgh Power game, I wouldn't move. So you have certain things that you can call it your destiny or whatever your word is, that you might be made to do, or you're made to be a part of this. And I think that that's what it was for me, because I remember my grandmother and my godmother telling me we'd be out shopping and I'd find a mirror at JCPenney's and I act like I'm throwing or swinging. Like, what are you doing? I didn't act like I was taking snaps or shooting free throws. It was always
Yeah.
a fake swing or a fake throw or something like that. But it was never a fear of failure.
Okay.
I just think it was a lack of love. It was like versus love. Like I liked those things, but I didn't love them. So when I found something I love, okay, that's what it is. That's what I'm going
That's it. That's the one
when
thing.
I got to the age where I could sign up and play, that was all she wrote. After
That's
that,
awesome.
I don't think I've ever stopped living or breathing, ball ever since.
Yeah, I'm looking at your resume. I can tell, but we'll get into that.
Right.
So, growing up, going through high school and everything. Or wait, I'm going to backtrack. What was the place to hang out at other than Fourth and Pine? Where would you always go, like after school, whatever? What was the place?
Not so much. Well, after school, elementary school and middle school, it was definitely going outside, on Pine Street with my friends. But
Yeah.
I'd say in high school, it was just hanging around the school after school was out. So, school was out at 2:25 and we wouldn't really leave at 2:25.
Okay.
I lived where I could catch a bus or where I could walk. So sometimes I walk, if the weather's nice, obviously. But, hanging around school with friends after the bell rings, stuff like that. And that was it. I really didn't hang out too much, but I'd probably say through that high school age, maybe going to a high school basketball game. Definitely went to high school football games, on Friday night. So I did that, and going to high school basketball games to see my friends play, football and basketball and stuff like that. And I'd probably say that was it for me personally. I really didn't hang out too much whenever I was in school, but I'd say, Friday night high school basketball, and then during the week, sometimes we'd have baseball lifting, and we'd be over right before the JV game. So then you go to the JV game, and then you stay for the varsity game and all that kind of stuff. But that was
Yeah.
probably about it for me.
Gotcha. So throughout high school, what were some of your biggest accomplishments on the field?
Oh man, I think my biggest accomplishment throughout high school on the field was our senior year making the playoffs. My junior year, we were 1 year short, or not, excuse me, not 1 year short, but we were one game short. And we probably had more talent junior year than we did senior year. But it was just the fact of, I remember being on the bus with the juniors after that last game, who I guess essentially were now seniors, and we
Yeah.
were just like, "Look, man, we can make the playoffs." So, May of 2004, saying, "Hey, we're going to make the playoffs," and then May of 2005 being in the playoffs. Even though we lost in the first round, like saying something 12 months in advance, working and actually achieving
Yeah.
it, that was probably the biggest accomplishment. And in high school, we got our jerseys as a senior gift with our last name on them, and I still have it hanging up in my bedroom. And on the front, there's a Whitfield playoff patch. So like the jersey's cool, but like when I see the patch, I always go back to that moment whenever the guys were like, "Hey, look, man, we're gonna make the playoffs next year."
And I think to
Losing
the
first
point
round
of the
to
Whippeal,
accomplish.
yeah, to the point of the Whippeal, I just want to say I feel like people outside of the Whippeal and outside of Pittsburgh and like Western PA, like they don't understand how important the Whippeal is.
Oh man, it's
Because
legendary.
it's like growing like playing high school football, I wasn't worried about states. I was worried about the Whippeal. Because I think we knew that's where all the talent is Western
Yeah,
PA.
for sure. And it's more so, and I think that comes from the different levels. Okay, so like obviously Whitfield football is good in high school, right?
Yeah.
But then you go look at how many Whitfield guys go to the next level big time. And then look at how many Whitfield guys are in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then part of that, and I'll be honest, part of that's probably just being Whitfield. We're in our own bubble. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if you're not Whitfield, then it's like, all right, well, what do you got? And regardless of sport, but I mean, Western PA is definitely football, basketball. So even then, like, whenever you have Whitfield, you can look in the NFL now and count Whitfield guys.
Yeah.
You can look at quarterbacks just from Western PA. And it's big time. I tell people that I'm from Ambridge, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm across the river from Malaquippa," and they go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
you know, and it's but why do you think they know that? Because of high school football, because of a Whitfield team that's been dominant for years. That's where they get it. That's where they know the name from. So I think that Whitfield is definitely important to us, regardless of sport. But I mean, I understand that Western PA, lately baseball's been creeping up in regards to importance. But
Yeah.
it's definitely a football, basketball area. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, you say that with baseball. There's a guy I have on my radar that I want to get on this show, Brendan McKay. I interviewed one of
Yeah,
his good
Blackhawk.
friends. Yeah, I interviewed one of his good friends who plays for the Wild Things now. I would love to get Brendan on here and like talk to him about how baseball has started to creep up in the importance of, like we just said, the Whippeal. Because like you said, it's been basketball and football forever. But now you're seeing a lot more baseball players start to make it out of the Whippeal and give it
Yeah,
way more credibility.
definitely. They're getting there. He's made it to the show. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
made it to the show, and I know Libertor's made it to the show. Another Whitfield Western PA guy.
Yep.
And each year, lately, I probably say the past 10 years, you see more and more Division I commits, and then you see more and more draft picks. I think Hendricks was 12th overall in the first round from West Allegheny.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's crazy.
West Allegheny. I mean, when you hear West Allegheny, so in my age, the first thing I think of is Doran Dickerson and Tyler Palco.
Yep.
For football,
Yep.
And then now you're looking at 12th round, or first round, 12th overall. That's big.
And that's like I talked to Burkett, and he went in the 6th round, and he ended up being a very good pitcher in the MLB.
Yeah.
Even though it's the 80s, 90s, 2000s, but
Sure.
still.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about you. I know we got off on a tangent, but
That's
I like talking about the Whippeal. Anytime I can talk about the Whippeal, I
Hey man,
love it.
it's home. It's home for sure. I mean, I
So
went to school at Slippery Rock, so I was on the border of I can go
yep,
15 minutes south and be Whitfield, or 15 minutes north and be District 10. So
yeah,
I had to fight for it in college.
yeah, exactly. And that leads me into my next segment. Let's talk about college. What made you go to Slippery Rock? Was that maybe the only school that offered you to play baseball? Were there several schools that offer you to play baseball, or is it just the right fit for you?
So my route to college, before we get to Slippery Rock baseball, is it's a little bit of a PennDOT detour here, there, and everywhere. You know what I mean? So I graduated high school in 2005, and it's so funny now being a head coach, and then at the previous school I was at, I was an instructor and coach because now I'm harping on academics.
Yeah,
I was not a good high school student. I
same.
was not. So when I graduated high school, I ended up moving down south. I lived with a few of my cousins. I had some family in the area, and I went to a community college.
Okay.
I wasn't playing baseball. So from '05, '06, I didn't play ball. I just went to school. Came back home in the summer. I played Legion. That was fun. And I decided to move back. So not only did I come back home in the summer, I decided to move back. I got accepted into Slippery Rock as a transfer. So fall of '06, I go to Slippery Rock and I walk on and I make it. So now I'm practicing with the team in the fall, but I still have to make it through the fall to get my jersey in the spring.
Yeah.
Right. So about 2 weeks after that, I get an email about having to meet with our compliance director. So I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, but what's going on? Well, between going to a community college in Texas, and I actually took 2 classes at CCBC over the summer, I earned 25 credits. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm at 24. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Only 19 transferred. So then '06, '07, I had to sit out. So now that's 2 years that I didn't play high school ball. Or I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, college ball, but I
Yeah.
was in school. So I went home and I played rec league. I had a job, worked out, all that kind of stuff. So fall of '07, I came back, walked on again, and then at that point I was good to go. And I played '08, '09, and 2010. So I had to, like I said, I had a little bit of a route to get there. But I gave myself 3 different options when I was decided to move home, and Slippery Rock was my first choice. I got accepted, and I was going to go there. So if I walked on and made it, here we are, right? If I
Yeah.
didn't make it, I would have went to school there, just for the fit. It was close by. There was a lot of people from my area that was there, and then it was an hour from home,
Yeah.
so it was a really good fit. It was a decent. It was far away from home, but still close. Not huge campus, but a good size, and it did become a good fit. It became a really good fit for me, to be a part of the team for 3 years and be a reliever there. So I wasn't offered. I had to earn my jersey as a walk on.
Yeah.
So like I said, my situation was a lot different than probably what you would think. The normal college baseball coach would have went through. But what I've learned is that every college coach has their story.
Yeah.
There's some kind of story. I'd probably say 8 or 9 out of 10 college coaches have some kind of story that's kind of crazy. Like, man, I would have never thought you did that.
Yeah.
Usually you don't think someone that's coaching college baseball went 2 years after high school without playing it. So it's a little bit of a
Yeah.
difference.
So let's dive into that. How did that affect your play? Because like you said, you played rec leagues, but you're not playing at the next level per se. So how was that transition, and like how were you able to get to the next level yourself, like physically?
Um, had to grow. My senior year of high school was the first time I started lifting weights. So seeing the progress from junior to senior year, that continued. So I continued to work out. I continued to get stronger. I was really new to it. I was young in regards to being in the weight room, but it didn't affect my play in a sense that I was confident in my ability, and I continued to always work hard. And it was just a matter of being patient, and then visualizing your success and visualizing what you want to be and what you want to become. Your mind is very, very powerful. So, if you see, like, I think they did the story with Kobe, the kid, like the little cartoon in his bedroom shooting the ball by himself. Like, that was me.
Yeah.
I had a vision of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to get to. So then when it came to getting on the field, you have to put confidence and trust in the work that you put in and go out there and play to the best of your ability. So, and for me, it was also, you have to think too, is we had the fall. So although I didn't play 06, 07, the fall of '06 for a little bit, I was practicing. So I was pitching in inter squads. So I was competing. And then when I came back in the following fall, I was practicing inter squads and I was competing. So I was showing myself that if I can compete with these guys in the fall inter squads, I think I'll have a role in regards to being a part of the team in the spring.
Awesome. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked into him because I don't like the team that he played for when I found out who he was. Did you ever play with Matt Adams?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was your time period or not. I didn't know if he came after.
Yep. Maddie
So
and I played together in college, and he was. I mean, he's been in the big leagues for 8 years now, and
yeah, the first time I was introduced to him was when he was playing for the Cardinals, and I was like, "Screw that guy! I don't care if he went to Slippy Rock."
right. But listen, I was the same way until he did something.
Yeah.
I was like, I want Matt to go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, and the Cardinals lose like 8-4.
Yep. Pretty much.
But no, it was just, it's one of those things that you see somebody that you went to the dining hall with, that you hung out with, you shared, the bus with, and all that kind of stuff, to be playing in a World Series, and, getting the ring with the Nationals, and it's awesome. I mean, it's crazy just to sit there and watch on TV and be like, man, I know that guy. I played with that guy. It's pretty cool. And then to see him continue to hit. Everybody else, you see tweets, oh, he's hitting this, and I'm like, yeah, he's been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about Matt. You can say what you want to say, but my guy can hit.
Yeah. So like playing with him and being around him in college, did you, like, just your opinion, did you think he could make it to the next level? Did he just stand out, or was it a very rigorous developmental process for him?
I think it's one of those things for him, like, you can tell that he was different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, there were certain things about him that were, like, if Matt struck out looking,
yeah,
like, we were like, no, it's probably not a strike.
Okay.
Like, and he would, he didn't really, like, if he would swing and miss, you're like, man, what is this guy throwing? Because when Matt's, he was the top of the top.
Yeah, it's just like, this guy's different type of thing.
Right. And it was, and we were always confident in him, honestly. When he got up there, we expected double or nothing.
Yeah.
But it was fun, man. And it was, he definitely had to work to get to where he was at, and then seeing his progress through the minor leagues, that was the best part, because you're like, he got drafted, he was in the minors, but then you see, like, AA, he won Player of the Year, and you're like, man, he's going to get there. Like, that's when like, man, I just pray he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Because he's going to hit. Just stay healthy. And I always wanted him to go to an American League team because of the DH.
Yeah.
So,
be perfect for him.
It'd be huge. I mean, thus far, he still had a good career. But if he were to get picked up by an AL team where he could DH and maybe play first here or there, be in good shape.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get back to you and Slippy Rock and the social aspect of Slippy Rock. That's something that I got to experience by my brother going to Slippy Rock. So what was your favorite spot to hang out there?
Oh, man. My favorite spot to hang out in college was I would probably say when I lived at the Heights.
Okay.
When I lived at the Heights, because I had 3 roommates that were teammates. We had a group of friends across the street that we would hang out with. And whenever we did have parties, we ended up having too many people there. And we would have people would go out into the backyard. But that was it. Just living with my teammates was probably the best part, because there was 3 of them. There was 2 of them transferred in from junior college, and then one of them was a transfer the year before from West Allegheny, who I played against in high school.
Yeah.
Go figure. But that was the best. That was the best time, man. Just hanging out with the guys, your teammates, and then other teammates come over, and then you really get to learn them and learn about them and how they view baseball and how they view the game and stuff like that. But that would probably be that and Club Bailey, aka the library, during finals week. The place was always a party spot.
What's the story behind that? I've never heard about that before.
Well, no, it was the Bailey, the library. It was the Bailey Library.
Yeah.
But during finals week, we always called it Club Bailey because everybody was studying.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, man, Club Bailey's packed. And it was just, finals week. You had the computers on the first floor, you had second floor, and then the third floor, I think, was like a silent floor, like there's no noise at all. So whenever you really had to dial in on your studies, we would go up there. And then we had the Arc as well, our rec. There was 4 basketball courts, weight room, track upstairs. It was top of the line. But I definitely say the Heights or South Rock whenever I was around my teammates. One of my favorite memories from being in college was watching MLB playoff games in the fall with my teammates hanging out.
Yeah.
Because that's when baseball is like, game 5, win or go home, and you're hanging out with all your guys who you play baseball with. You just got finished inter-squatting at practice, and it was always a good time. That's probably definitely one of my favorite memories for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's move on to post-grad life. You did earn a master's degree in sports and fitness administration at United States Sports Academy, which I've never heard of. What kind of school is that?
So the United States Sports Academy is based out of Alabama, and what it is sports-specific education.
Okay,
So
cool.
my master's is it's a dual master's in sport coaching and sport management. So that gives me an educational side to a coaching background, and then as well as a sport management side. So that gives me another route. If coaching didn't work out, having a master's in sport management could put me in athletic administration, or if I was to land a front office spot with a team or something like that along those lines. It was just another avenue if plan A didn't work, in regards to with coaching. But I did after I graduated, I went to grad school online. So I went online and I worked, and I went online and I coached and stuff like that to kind of build my resume while getting my master's degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So you went back to what's this? It says Kentucky area?
Right. So what I did was, especially I guess earlier in my career, which makes me sound old now, but I coached in a lot of collegiate summer leagues, which is basically college players from all over the country being put on essentially, in layman's terms, random teams with random players they never met all June and July, and then they play. And they play wooden bat, and it's mostly guys that have ability and aspirations to go to the next level. So they play wooden bat, and then there's a lot of scouts that go around to different leagues and watch them. So what I did was, for 2 years after I finished playing, I coached back at my old high school. And then in the summertime, I would go away from home. So I would go to Myrtle Beach, or I'd go to Kentucky or New York or what have you, or DC, and I would coach for these 2 months to add to my resume, to learn new things, and to try to build my resume in the summer. Because at one point, I was having a lot of trouble getting into the college game in regards to coaching at a school.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could do was to sacrifice my summers in my 20s to coach college guys in the summer. So if I do apply for a job, they can say, hey, well, he did coach 3 years at a collegiate summer league, so he has some experience with college players. I had to figure out, okay, what was the sacrifice that I was going to make to get my career going in the right direction. Yeah. So from like 23 to 28, like my summers, I was out coaching somewhere, so I was out there and putting my best foot forward, just trying to continue to build my resume, to get to where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was it like going back to your hometown and coaching for the high school team? Like, I feel like not a lot of people get to do that. So like, it was fun.
it was fun because a lot of the younger guys would try to attach themselves to me, or they would listen more to me because I just got finished playing in college.
Exactly. Yeah.
So and then also my high school pitching coach, who I'm still tight with to this day, was on that coaching staff. So now, 5 or 6 years after he was my coach, we're now coaching together. So that was interesting as well. But it was nice, to be around the game, to always go back, and be able to help out where you came from. I think that usually
Yeah.
speaks a lot to somebody's character. I would feel worried if I were to go home and wanted to help and they said no.
Yeah.
I would have to think like, do you just not want me, or is there something with my name that's not okay with you?
Yeah.
If you don't want me, then you don't want me. That's fine. But if you say, hey, this, that, and the third is attached to your name, then I'd be like, well, then there's a problem, character wise.
Yeah. No, and I have the same feeling. Like, if I did live back in Western PA, back close to Beaver, I would absolutely want to go and help coach like the high school football team. Granted, I only played 1 year of college football, but it's like I want to give back to the program that gave so much to me. And I think that's like a lot more people should look into doing that if they can.
Yeah, I think that if there's ever a chance, and not only with people or the program that you played in, but the school altogether.
Yeah.
There's been young men and young women that have come after me that didn't play baseball, that were looking to go to college while I was in college, and I'd say, hey, this is what you got to do academically. You got to do this. You got to get your application, all that stuff in. And then even now, um, even if I recruit somebody from Ambridge for baseball, even if they don't pick Bethany, maybe they're a Division 1 type prospect, I'm still willing to help out. I don't have to know you personally.
Yeah.
We wear the same colors, same alma mater. You know that there enough is enough for me to want to lend a helping hand, because the goal is to get you to lend a helping hand, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then there's a progression of people helping each other out. That's the goal. So you have to be like, well, I don't know that person, I'm not going to help them. You have to put that stuff to the side. You have to do what's right, for the people. You don't want to forget where you came from. Somebody along the line always helped you, and it's your job to reach back and try and help somebody else, and hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's jump forward to your first college head coaching job. I think it was at Voorhees College.
Right, I was at Voorhees College. It's a small NAIA school in Denmark, South Carolina. It's about 10 hours from the county. It's a long drive.
Yeah. So what was that experience like? You've been grinding these summer leagues. You've been assistant coach at PSU Beaver, or was that just PSU?
Greater Allegheny. I was
Greater
at
Allegheny.
Greater
My
Allegheny.
bad. So like you're going through all these jobs, like just grinding it out, trying to build your resume. How much of a relief was that to finally get your first head coaching gig?
It was big time relief, because I was getting ready to go back to the Beaver Valley Ball and interview at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
I had an interview at Dick's Sporting Goods lined up probably a week or 2 or 3 after I got back home from coach. I was coaching in Charlotte.
Yeah.
After I finished coaching in Charlotte, about 3 weeks later, I would have had an interview at Dick's Sporting Goods. So I would have lived at home, been working at Dick's Sporting Goods, trying to figure out my next move to the next coaching gig. And I had a lot of odds and ends, small jobs. I worked at a steel plant. I worked at the YMCA in the housing department, maintenance department. I worked at Vitamin World at the mall, doing a lot of different things. So to finally get the full-time job, I always ask myself, what are you going to do whenever you get the call that you're going to get it? And then I was like, oh, we'll see what happens. So I get the call, and I just started laughing. I was like, I can't believe it's actually happened. Can't believe it happened. Hung up, called my mom, told her, and then I sat there and I was like, so now what do I do?
Yeah, it's like you got what you've been wanting your whole life. Now what? you know?
Exactly. So it was a quick turnaround. I was coaching in Charlotte, which is about 2.5 hours from where the school is. I drove down for my interview, came back, got offered the job, had to go back for orientation, came back, finished the season, and then I had to go back for the beginning of school because school started like 12 days later.
Yeah, that's
Then
crazy.
I had there was a lot of young men that transferred over to summer because they didn't know what their head coaching situation was. So, and I don't blame them. You know, they
Yeah,
decided to go somewhere else. So I started off with a small roster my first year, and I had to adjust. And I took over a 3-31 team, and I had 12 guys. You know, we went 10-21 our first year, but that was the first 10-win season in like 5 or 10 years. You know, so it was a learning experience, and it was I was able to take all the things from every coach that I had been involved with, played for, coached with, and take what I liked, throw away what I didn't like. But now at this point, I'm able to add whatever I want to add.
yeah,
I was in charge, and then also I didn't have an assistant, so I didn't have as a head coach. I didn't have an assistant until I got to Bethany.
gotcha.
So I had to also figure out how to maneuver. How are you going to manage your time to get everything done at practice by yourself?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so once I figured that out, and it made it easier. You know, there were some things that didn't work. There were some things that did work. You know, but there was a lot of coaching resources and friends that I was able to bounce ideas off of and talk to, and family and friends that gave me a whole lot of support and still do to this day. So I was very, you know, fortunate and blessed to not only have the opportunity, but have the people in my corner with me.
that's a crazy situation not to have an assistant coach. Did you have like?
It is. It is crazy, but the only big thing about it was I just couldn't get thrown out.
Yeah,
You know, but it's definitely it's different. It's different. You just have to learn how to play and practice. You know, I was very fortunate. Coach Jim Chester, who was the head coach of Penn State Greater Allegheny, gave me my first opportunity to be a assistant coach, a pitching coach. But
yeah,
every Monday we play and practice. So I learned the importance of planning practice. So now when I'm by myself, I may not have somebody to bounce ideas off of, but I can plan practice and figure out how I want to navigate through a week of, okay, we're going to practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. This is what we're going to do. So we can get everything accomplished this week, and we can look at the next week tentatively and tentatively the next week. But, you know, for 2 years learning how to plan practice, you know, that was really big for me because I carried it all the way through even now.
yeah,
You know, you have a game plan, you have to navigate through it.
yeah. So let's talk about you coming to Bethany College. I was, what was I, a junior at the time? It was
Um,
2 years ago.
I got hired. I started around Thanksgiving of 2018. I thought it would have been your senior year, junior
Yeah,
year,
that was my senior year.
senior
Actually,
year.
you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So you come in. You know, there was talk about the old coach. You know, everybody loves him. I think they still love him in that community. But just the way he coached, I knew some of the players weren't a fan. And whenever they heard that they were getting a guy like you, a younger guy, they were ecstatic before they even met you. I know I'm good friends with Matt Caraney, who I think he eventually rejoined the team,
I coached him in high school.
and you coached him in high school. So he had a little more inside baseball to,
Yeah, yeah,
so he knew who you were. He was able to spread the good word.
right.
So coming into a situation like that, where you had a team who they loved the coach, just couldn't do it anymore with him, uh, strategy wise, I guess. How how do you approach that? I mean, Carve was there for a good chunk of years. So are you worried about changing tradition? Are you worried about how you're going to approach practice? Like what are your instincts going into a situation like that at Bethany College?
Well, I say um, the biggest thing for me was so through my interview process, I had there was a part in my interview, probably 30 to 45 minutes, where I had to meet with the team in the lecture hall. So after going through, you know, introductions of themselves and myself, we get to talking about coaching philosophies and things like that. And then I had a message for the senior class. And I said, whether I'm your choice or not, you're going to have a new head coach, and there's going to be people outside of here that are going to say, oh, this year is a pass. You're new to the coach is new to you, it's a pass, we'll see what happens afterwards. Or you can throw that out the window and say, let's go for it. Like, so what? I'm new, you're new, so what? Let's go.
That gave me chills just knowing what happened that year.
And I don't know if they knew how literal or how serious I was when I said that, but that was, so to answer your question, that was my approach.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have time to worry about, oh, am I doing this? Are they going to be mad? You know, I had to throw that out. You know, what my focus was, baseball is going to take care of itself. I need to learn personalities. Well, first I need to learn names. Learn names, learn personalities. You know, I need to learn who I can talk to about certain things, who communicates better than others, you know, and stuff like that, and what guys' strengths are versus their weaknesses, so how I can put each person in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried about. You know, in baseball, you got to throw, run, hit, catch. It's been like that since you were 6, and it's like that for the guys in the big leagues. But I had to get to know them and who could hit where in the lineup, and they're you know, who's this, that, and the third. That's what I had to get to learn. But my approach to it was just what I said in the interview. You know, I said, hey, look, if we're going to go for it, let's go. But let's go now. Let's not try to spark it up in the middle of April, you know, and turn the light on. You know, let's go now, you know, once I get here. You know, and I think, you know, I would hope at least that, you know, that kind of might have won them over. So then whenever we had the Bison Challenge, I think they were kind of like, oh, he was serious.
Yeah.
So, and then it was in what I understood was that I had to try my best to change the culture. And it's not so much change it from bad to good, it's change it from one person to the next.
Yeah.
You know, so if I say that, hey, we're going to play music and have fun at practice as long as we're getting our work in, then I had to show that it was okay to have a little fun while you get your work in, so they know.
Yeah.
So then as they got comfortable with me and I got more comfortable with them, you know, there was no more surprises. It was a more of a loose environment. That coach, I know if I turn my stereo up as high as it goes, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, coach isn't going to be bothered with me.
Yeah.
You know, and then that type of comfort amongst other things. And then I think it went well. You know, I think it was a great match, you know, and I think that we had a lot of fun, you know, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the Bison Challenge.
Yeah.
I was there waking up,
Hey,
5 in the morning with you guys,
Yeah,
filming you guys doing these workouts.
You had the best seat in the house.
Yeah, that was just like being there, and we're going to talk about what happened with that season because it's pretty special. Just being there to see that firsthand was really cool. And it really was just, I mean, I don't mean to take the reins on explaining, but what the Bison Challenge was what are you going to do for your team? What are you going to do for your teammates? And what are you going to do for yourself? It was, are you going to go the extra mile? Are you going to get out of bed, do it like needs to get done? Or are you going to say, I'll show up to practice, I'll walk through practice, and I'll go home, and that's it? It was really an experience, like almost like, I like to compare it to Herman Boone in Remember the Titans.
When they went for the run.
It was very much that kind of environment every morning for, I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
fun.
just go through it. Like, how did you come up with it?
Well, it's something that's very prominent at the Division I level. They call it the Omaha Challenge. That's where Division I World Series is.
Yeah.
So my assistant at the time mentioned it, and then I did some research on it, and I said, all right, well, let's sit down and let's figure out the workouts that we're going to do and how we're going to do each day. So we did 4 days. We did 6 a.m., 6 a.m., I think 7 p.m., and then 6 a.m. the next day. Yeah. And mind you, at this point, I was commuting from Ambridge to Bethany. So if you saw me juiced at 6:30 in the morning, I was juiced at 4:45 on the road
Yep.
driving. I was ready to go. So, we broke the teams up into four groups, and we had our max deadlift, our max squat. We did different exercises. We were doing competitions on the football field on that the evening under the lights, and then we finished it with the run through town, the run to the baseball field. My goal was to let the guys know that it doesn't matter what anybody else says, because I know that people are going to pass us off because they just got a new coach. He's going to start practice in January. You're going to start playing in February. Like, there's no way it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I said, it doesn't matter. So I told the guys, I said, we're going to turn around at some point in the middle of the year. We're going to be right in the thick of things. And I've never claimed myself to be Nostradamus, but we were 8-8 in conference with 8 conference games left. And I was like, hey, we're right in the middle of it. We went a little bit of a run. And, we fell a little short, but we ended up getting into the tournament. But we went on a little bit of a run after that. I think the guys really bought in. The guys believed, and the guys had fun. I think that those two things made a world of difference for that 2019 season.
Yeah, absolutely. So the team ended up. You guys, did you go to the championship?
Yes, we
Yeah, it was on graduation day. I remember that.
Yeah, we finished runner-up in the conference tournament, and it was the same day as commencement.
Yeah.
The guys graduated early. They had their uniforms on with their cap and gown over top. And they met in the calf, had the commencement at the gates, went through the gates, and then they went and played for a championship. So, the totality of being a student athlete in one day.
Yeah.
Your bachelor's degree, and then obviously we fell short, but you go get your bachelor's degree and you play for a championship in the same day.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, even as just a student, like, yeah, I had a little bit of a closer lens to it, but I think across the campus, we were just like amazed at, like, okay, this baseball team that used to be like average, all they did was party and go play baseball. Now they're out there playing for a championship. And I think you had a big part of doing that. And it was just awesome to watch the process, be a part of it. And I think that was probably the highlight of a lot of people's senior year at Bethany College that year.
Yeah, I mean, I would surely hope that they had a good time, that they enjoyed it. I mean, winning's always fun. I noticed that the more and more that we sung country roads after winning, there was more and more people in the stands.
Yes.
And then there was more people down the line watching the games, which was good, which means that, the campus community was becoming invested, in what we were doing, and for us to be, playing for the championship was big. And the biggest thing for me for that season, or those guys that were a part of that team, was that if you believe in something and you work for it, if you truly believe and you work for it, you can turn things around. The outsiders will doubt you, but you can't believe in that. You can't invest in that. You can't listen to that. You have to focus on what you're focused on. So as a team, we were focused on winning games, getting to the tournament, winning a championship. That was our goal. And initially, I believe it started, again, to backtrack, at the interview. I told him, I said, you guys can say, yeah, we'll just, see what happens with the new coach, or you can take everybody out there that's going to pass on you, and you could throw it back at them. And we did. We played extremely well for the year. Every season is going to have their ups and downs. But we competed, for almost every game. We did really well, and the guys were bought in. And it was a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, most people would say this is a good time to stop the interview, but since I did go to Bethany and I know what Bethany is like, I need to ask you, what is it like working at probably one of the smallest collegiate institutions in the United States?
I like it. I like, when I was a student, the smaller the classrooms, the better I was.
That's how I was, yeah.
So being here, and not only the classroom, it's a small type of family environment, and not only do I work here, but I have an apartment in the middle of town, so for someone like me, I'm not going to be very far, so if somebody needs help with something, if there's an emergency, if if I have to set up a meeting with an advisor or a professor, or if I have a athletic meeting, anything like that, I'm always, for the most part, I'm always accessible. So I don't mind the small college, atmosphere, the small college feel. I kind of like it whenever a lot of people know a lot of people, and it helps navigate our students through. Instead of just becoming a number, you can become a name, and it's like you have more value and more worth at a smaller institution. And so it's not, I don't mind it at all.
So like, a lot of people don't understand how small Bethany is. How many students are on campus right now? I'm sure it's more than when I was there.
Um, I don't want to say the wrong number, but I want to say that at some point during the fall, it was between 550 and 600.
Yeah, and like that's the amount of like a
Well,
lot
our
of
student,
large high schools.
I know that our student faculty ratio is 10-1.
Yeah,
So you could have, and I know that there's some like, your early communications classes or biology classes might have a larger number of students, but you could be a junior in an accounting class that's a 300 or 400 level class and have 8 people in it.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think that one-on-one with your professors and your advisors is huge, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, no, it at Bethany, it really is like your advisor is like more than a teacher to you
Yeah,
because they're literally like with you almost every day. If you're not with them every day, you're probably doing something wrong.
right, right.
I have a question. What's probably the most annoying or dumbest thing that you've been asked to do that you're like, I'm the baseball coach. Why am I doing this at this small college?
Oh
Because I
man.
feel like everybody has to fill a spot at Bethany because we just don't have enough people.
Um, I was never. That's actually a good question, because I'm trying to think what I've done that's outside the box, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't I don't think I have anything. I
Have you done
learned.
Moonbeam?
What's that?
Moonbeam?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you don't even know what Moonbeam is?
Mm-mm.
That's the during finals week in the cafeteria. That whole thing.
Oh, like to serve?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, I haven't done that yet.
Okay, so I mean, good for you.
But I remember when I was in school having those as a student, so it wouldn't be completely foreign to me
Yeah,
to have that. I don't know if I have anything yet. I know I've done the book for men's and women's basketball, but
yeah.
I learned how to do it and I enjoy it because I enjoy basketball. So that's not anything strange or out of the ordinary. Um, I had driven vans before to away games, and um, yeah, I don't think that moment has yet to come, and I know who to call whenever it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I always noticed that sporting events, you always had one person who it seemed like, why are they here? Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, well, the big thing about small college athletics is that it takes everybody, and that's how I learned when I was an assistant at Penn State, Greater Allegheny. I learned how to do the official book for basketball. I learned how to track libero for volleyball, because it takes everybody.
Yeah,
So we'd have basketball tip-off tournament to be 5 games a day, and I'm doing the book. Or volleyball would have 2 matches, and I'd be doing tracking libero. So there's certain things like that where you're thinking that a baseball coach would never have to learn, but whenever you work at a small school, it takes a lot. It takes everybody.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I'm trying to think of some good stuff because I feel like this is like my wheelhouse. I need to get you with a question.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you this. Um, I'm sausage, egg, and cheese at Chambers. What are you?
Oh, sausage, egg, and cheese. I'm bacon, egg, and cheese at Chambers.
It's not bad. It's a good change up.
Yeah.
But I'm sausage, egg, and cheese guy. And
So, okay, how would you explain Chambers to someone who is outside of Bethany College?
oh man, I would first have to learn where they're from.
Yeah, to compare it to something.
It's very different. You'd have to explain. I guess like for you and I, it would be like a true value,
Yeah,
more of a sandwich shop, like 70-30 sandwich shop to true value.
yeah,
You know, but if they don't have true value, if somebody doesn't have true values, they don't know.
yeah.
It's man, I couldn't tell you how to explain Chambers to somebody. It's one of those things that you have to experience,
Absolutely.
and it's unique in its own way. You know, there's a lot of things, especially in 2020, that aren't old fashioned, and it has an old fashioned feel to it.
Oh yeah, it's like stepping in a time machine.
It is for sure. And then, but I love it. You know, I love it, and I think that especially, even during quarantine and when school shut down and went online, you could scroll Twitter and see students tweeting like, "Man, I just want a breakfast sandwich from Chambers."
Always, I'm always craving Chambers.
Yeah. So I think that it's one of those things that it would take a Bethany student to fully understand the place that Chambers holds in people's hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up right here.
Cool.
JT, Justin Thomas, thank you for joining me. It was a fantastic second interview with you in my lifetime.
Hey, I appreciate the opportunity, man. It's good to talk to you. Next time you're around this way, we got to get to the hot dog shop.
Oh, gotta get some hot dog shop. I've been craving it, man.
For sure.
All right, man. Thanks.
No problem. Take it easy.